it is very hard mentally because you have effectively completely lost your independence. You can't eat, you can't even talk. It's very hard to communicate. You can't walk. You're literally stuck in a hospital bed for a month. But yeah, it's not easy when all of that is just stripped from you, especially after this independence I had gained by going to boarding school. So for me, mentally, it was very hard to wrap my head around the fact that I had to learn all this and do all this stuff again. And as you could probably tell, I was pretty impatient with the example of me wanting to breathe more on my own than the doctors were recommending and wanting to eat before I was cleared. And naturally, I'm a pretty impatient guy, which you'll hear me and Dr. Martin Butler talk about a little bit. But that is something where I had to have very deliberate mental conversations with myself so that I could stay as positive as possible. These conversations went along the lines of telling myself, it's okay, this will one day get better, and basically having a fake it till you make it attitude. If I had not done that, my depression would have been worse, because it would be a lie to say I wasn't depressed in the hospital. So it would have been, a lot more difficult. My mental talk would have probably been, oh, this sucks. And this was all stuff I was already saying, but it probably would have been a lot worse. I would have been like, oh, this sucks. This, why the world is so unfair, And so for me to try and fight that was very difficult and took a lot of practice. But eventually I was able to kind of develop these tactics, which we talk about these tactics with Dr. Bullard, where I said, fake it till you make it was one of them, as I mentioned, and basically convincing myself that this will be over, this will get better, because I knew it would, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like it would last forever. And the other one was distraction. Distraction is a complicated one because I feel like distraction can be a double-edged sword, where on one hand, it's really good. It distracts you from, being stuck in a hospital bed, having a broken neck, from not being able to do all this stuff and being mad at your situation and the world. However, you have to be careful to not distract yourself too much, because if you start to ignore your emotions and start to bury them deep down, it can become more detrimental than helpful. And, you have to feel your feelings. You have to allow yourself to be realistic with yourself and tell yourself that, yes, I am depressed. Yes, I am unhappy with my situation. I'm mad that this happened. And if you ignore all of that, you will start to not realize it's there. And then one day it'll all bubble back up and burst out in a very unhealthy way. So it's very important to distract yourself when you need a distraction, when you are feeling down, when you are in need of a break from what's going on in the hospital and thinking about therapy and breathing again and starting to learn how to transfer, and whether that's Netflix or eating food, or if you can, nice example, Seb, but whatever it might be, playing cards, take the distraction and you use that and really let your mind go away from what's going on at the moment. However, all those bad days, those days where you're really struggling and you're really mad at yourself and you want to cry and you want to scream in a pillow, do that. Cry, scream in a pillow, because if you ignore that and if you really fight those bad days will come back with a vengeance later on, which is really unhealthy. So I would highly recommend, when you feel down, when you are not having a good day, just accept it. It's fine. And tell yourself, look, it's okay to not be okay, right? Every human has bad days. Every human gets depressed at times. Every human gets mad. So for someone to say, oh, it's weak or it's unhealthy to do this, that's absolutely wrong. It's completely normal. It's not weak to feel down. It's weak to not deal with it healthily, in my opinion. So cry, scream in a pillow, throw a pillow across the room. Don't throw anything expensive across the room. I learned that the hard way. But accept your reality and be okay with it. And that is what I really had to struggle with and really had to try to get good at in the hospital. And that's what every spinal cord injury patient struggles with, being okay with their new life, being okay with their new situation. And I touched on this a little bit in the first episode, where it's hard to see at first that you gained anything because you kind of didn't. You kind of only lost stuff at first: the ability to walk, the ability to talk, the ability to eat, to do most stuff on your own. You can't even get out of bed on your own at first, right? But as time goes on, as you get out of the hospital, you will find new friend groups. You will find new sports. You'll find new things you love to do, and you will find ways to do all of the things you cannot do. Today, I can transfer on my own. I can eat on my own. I can breathe on my own. I can get out of bed on my own. I can get dressed, put my shoes on, all this stuff that 4 years ago, I could not do any of this. I could literally do zero things for myself. I was 100% dependent on other people. So no matter what you're dealing with, depression, anxiety, spinal cord injury, other sorts of disabilities, all of it will get better. That is just a fact of human life. Things get better, things get worse. It is a constant up and down. So when you are in those dips, if you can fake it till you make it, tell yourself this will end one day, this is not permanent, then one day you will realize that it gets better, right? The other very important thing is I think you need to develop a community of people to help and support you, whether that's family, friends, a team, all of the above. You need someone there because this stuff is not beatable on your own. I had a great family. They were super helpful. So a big thank you to them, of course. Friends from before I got hurt came to visit me in the hospital. But it really helped me, having a community of guys in a wheelchair. I wasn't the odd man out. I was able to get tips and tricks from them. And I was really able to learn that what I was going through was normal. All these things that I was thinking was abnormal and I was thinking I was weird or messed up for, I was completely wrong. They're absolutely normal. And to have those people support me and kind of help me through my transition into a spinal cord life, and it really teach me what was normal, what was not normal, how to normalize some stuff, how to do certain things, was a big help. And so a big thank you to all of the guys on the rugby team, people who aren't on the rugby team who helped me,